Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to today's webinar brought to you by the University of Illinois Extension and Rural Partners, the state's Rural Development Council. My name is Laura Hepkessel. I'm with the SIU School of Medicine and in this role serving as the chair of Rural Partners. There are a few housekeeping details I'd like to share before we get started. Because we have so many on the line, please mute your mic and stop your video to help with bandwidth issues. If you have questions or comments, please use the chat space. We will be monitoring the chat space and asking our presenters questions at the end of their presentation. If you're having audio difficulty, please post those questions in the chat space and someone will provide technical assistance. The webinar is being recorded and will be available later on the University of Illinois Extension Local Government Education website. You'll get an email in the next couple of days with the slides from today's presentation, as well as a link to the recording. So you can watch it again or share it with others. So again, welcome. Thank you so much to Extension for this partnership with Rural Partners. We host these webinars a few a month usually. We've taken a little bit break over the summer, so I'm a little rusty today, but glad we're doing this again. We are having another webinar on Thursday, so we hope you can join us for that. We'll be talking about the Hancock County Addiction Coalition. Rural Partners, again, is the state's Rural Development Council. We're membership driven, volunteer working board. We have representatives from public, private groups from all over the state and with different backgrounds and positions. So if you'd like to learn more about us, we'll put a link in the website to our website so you can check us out. So today we're excited to have speakers here with us from Elevate Illinois. They're going to talk about what makes our state great. So Craig Hoyle serves as Elevate Illinois' Executive Vice President and COO. Craig's entire career has been spent promoting Illinois and Illinois businesses. At the State of Illinois Department of Commerce, he managed business development efforts with a staff of 40 whose work led to the state's #1 ranking as a business location in the early 2000s. Craig also worked as president and CEO of Decatur Macon County Economic Development Corporation and is in the consulting business with Janet. They've done a lot of work and around investment, and he's a recognized leader in public policy impacting Illinois' economic development and is widely consulted on the topic. And Greg lives in rural Petersburg. Elevate Illinois President and CEO Janet Mathis is a 5th generation Illinoisan. She grew up on her family's farm near Fairbury, and where her great-great-grandparents settled in the 1860s and has lived in Illinois her entire life, but for 2 years when she was the state's trade director in Canada. Janet's degree in agricultural economics and industries from the University of Illinois has served her well in her career, which spanned work in the public, private, and not-for-profit sectors. Again, Janet and Craig have a consulting business together and are doing this important work that with Elevate Illinois. We'll learn more about that today. And Janet resides in Geneseo. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to the speakers. Again, please pose your questions in the chat box and we'll get to those throughout the presentation or at the end. And thanks again to Extension, and I'll pass it off to you, Janet.
Well, thanks, Laura, and thanks to Rural Partners and to Cooperative Extension for giving us a platform today to talk about Elevate Illinois. You've already got a background on Craig and I, a little bit of it. We'll talk about it more later, but I want to ask you a few questions. Are you tired about hearing about Illinois' out-migration, about how corrupt our state is and how corrupt our political sphere is? Are you tired of hearing about being Illinoised from other people from other states? Well, we were. We have a lot of great things going on here. We have fantastic research facilities, 3 of them that are federal in the state of Illinois. A lot of people don't realize that. We've got K-12 education system that is ranked in the top 10 in the country consistently. We forget about that. We have agriculture is the base of our economy. 25% of all jobs are ag-related, and we're right in the heartland here. And we have some of the best infrastructure as far as roads, bridges, airports, and rail systems in the country. And so why are we not taking better advantage of that? So that's what we're here to talk about today. We're talking about Elevate Illinois. Let me get this up real quick. Oops. Craig, can you do the PowerPoint?
Maybe.
All right, sorry about this, guys.
One second.
I've got it, Craig.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So there's 4 things I want you to take away from today, or what we're going to do today during our discussion. The first is to tell you what Elevate Illinois is. The second is why we started it. The third is why we're doing it ourselves, or what we're doing for Elevate. And the fourth is how you can get involved with us and what's going on. Can everyone see the PowerPoint?
You can see it, Janet.
Okay, great. So some of you have already heard some of this messaging before. So it's great to see so many of you. It's good to see old friends too from across the state, as well as some new ones. So what exactly is Elevate Illinois and how did it get started? So back in about 2008, a group of economic developers got together, and Laura alluded that Craig and I do have a history and a background in economic development, got together to form a thing we called Grow Illinois. We were frankly tired of the Illinois narrative at that point, and we wanted to change it. We were tired of other people and other places trying to dictate what we were and what we weren't. From political corruption, a lot of stuff was going on at that point in time. We had a governor in jail, another one on the way. And we wanted to focus on the state's positives instead. So we gained some traction with that. There was, like I said, about a dozen of us from across the state that were doing speaking engagements and other activities to try and tell people, why we should be refocused and focus on the positives. But unfortunately, it was a volunteer effort at that point in time. And we all had day jobs in economic development, trying to do job creation and investments in the state of Illinois. So we didn't take it as far as we wanted to. Fast forward a few years after that, a number of years, back in about 2013 or 14 or so, a guy by the name of Jim Nolan, who writes op-ed pieces, who you may or may not have read before, he actually started talking about downstate matters. Not only does Illinois a great place to be, but downstate matters too. It's not just about Chicago and the suburbs. In one of those columns, he mentioned the Edgar Fellows program, and said that Edgar Fellows should lead the charge with this Downstate Matters initiative. Well, I'm the executive director for the Edgar Fellows program for former Governor Jim Edgar, and he brought this to my attention. He said, this is a good idea, Janet, but Nolan doesn't necessarily implement ideas. He just has them, and I think you ought to go do this for him. So as our current Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton said when I was explaining this, what we were doing to her, she said, Governor Edgar told you, and I guess he kind of did, to start an initiative to focus on the positives of the state. What's great is it aligned with what Craig and I already believe in passionately, that Illinois is a great place to be. And we wanted to see what we could do to make this a place that our children and grandchildren want to be, and others want to come to and live and stay in for the long haul. So what exactly is Elevate Illinois? Elevate's a positivity campaign at its core. It's sharing what's great about not just economic development projects, which a lot of people assume that's all Craig and I care about because that's, what we do. But it's about the people that make this great. It's about the nonprofits that are doing wonderful things, and about places that are unique to the state, and, all the things that are going on holistically to make this a great place to be. It's an opportunity to showcase all of that. It's a grassroots effort. It's not a top-down. We enlist it and ask for people to share positive stories with us. We're reaching out to a lot of groups we'll talk about here in a second. And it's really taking it from the people further up to, doing great things for the state. It's apolitical, non-geographic centric, and inclusive. And I want to say that again. It's apolitical, non-geographic centric, and inclusive. And that's really important to this effort, we believe. Illinois is a very political state. And so to not have government involved in this Having lived through multiple administration changes myself as a state employee, and Craig as well, we know even if something's a really good program, sometimes if a new administration comes in, it doesn't continue, and because the new administration doesn't believe it's a good thing to do anymore. And it's a 501c3. So we took our time and we established this and got federal recognition as a federal nonprofit. So Elevate brings us all together. It brings nonprofits and associations, businesses, unions, education, government, and individuals. We've met with a lot of people the last 8 months since our official launch of this effort, which was in January of this year. Organizations like the Association of Regional Planning Organizations, Denise and Kevin, I saw that you're both on today. Thank you. Illinois Municipal League, Illinois Farm Bureau, Alliance of Illinois YMCAs, Rural Electric Cooperatives, Association of County Elected Officials, Intersect Illinois, World Business Chicago, the Governor, Lieutenant Governor, and Treasurer's offices. Interesting point about them. They both thought we were coming to ask for money. Again, we believe this needs to be apolitical, so we did not. But we just really want to have partnerships with all entities across the state. Economic development entities, higher education, unions, companies, individuals, and a lot more. So we've met with a lot of folks, and we know there's a lot more that we need to engage with. And that's not a comprehensive list. So how are we doing it? We're utilizing social media platforms. Currently, Elevate Illinois is on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. If you haven't already liked and followed us, we really would appreciate you doing that today and sharing that with your networks to do the same. And we're looking at other ways to engage, especially the younger population, with things like Instagram and, dare I say, TikTok. Although I got to tell you, my niece and my son both were questioning why I even had TikTok on my phone recently. And we're also doing hashtag Elevate Illinois. So not only in our stories, but stories we share from other places. And if you follow us, you'll see this isn't about Elevate Illinois creating the news. It's about us amplifying what's going on across the state and sharing your posts and what's going on positive in your areas. So we use hashtag Elevate Illinois to do that. We also hashtag what county it's in, because again, being in economic development, we understand quality of place is a really important thing as you're trying to have people be interested in the state and to locate businesses, locate themselves, bring people to visit. And so knowing where those activities are occurring is really important. That's why the hashtagging with the counties. We've got a website, elevateillinois.org is a very interactive website. We have a way that you can share your own stories with us, and we encourage people to do that either by giving us a narrative, a video, or some photos. We've actually used those in our blog posts and in our social media content. So it really helps us, again, keep this a grassroots effort, sharing positives from all across the state of Illinois. So Elevate is, and I'll tell you about our board of directors to start with. Elevate board of directors is fairly small. The first one is Matt Bauman. He lives in Carbondale, Illinois. He's the chief of staff for the Chancellor's Office for Southern Illinois University. Susie Brown, she's the president of the Newberg Group, and she's specializes in fundraising. She lives in Grundy County in Morris. David Dyer from Galva, the city administrator, is on our board of directors. Patrick Hoban from Normal, Illinois. Actually, he lives in Bloomington. He's the president and CEO of the Bloomington Normal Economic Development Council. Brian Johnson from Springfield. He's the state affiliate political organizer for the Illinois Federation of Teachers. Julie Moore-Wolf from Decatur. She's the mayor there. She's also been highly involved with economic development. She worked for the Illinois Department of Commerce at one time. Adrian, I saw you on the call today. Thank you. She also ran the Chamber of Commerce, and she was on the news as a news anchor for a period of time for WAND. And she works for a hospital currently in the area. Yvonne Savala from East Moline. She's the executive director or executive assistant to the CEO for IMEG Corporation in Rock Island. For those of you that aren't familiar with IMEG, it is one of the top 5 largest engineering firms in the country and has offices all over the world. And Tammy Craig Schilling, our board chairman, lives in Oakville. Tammy is the agronomy knowledge transfer lead for Bayer Corporation, which formerly was Monsanto, based in St. Louis. So our board of directors is as diverse as the state of Illinois. They're from all over the state. If you break down their political affiliations, we actually have 3 Democrats, 3 Republicans, and 2 independents out of the group. They have a variety of backgrounds and experiences and ages. When you include Jim Nolan, who is on our founding board, ages range from people in their 30s to people in their 80s, which I feel is very important to this effort. And then staffing wise, you've got myself, and Laura told you I'm a 5th generation farmer from Livingston County, but have been involved in public policy extensively, including, like I said, running the Edgar Fellows program for former Governor Edgar, where we try to bring people from different political affiliations and different geographies together, again, to learn that we have more that binds us together within this state than we have that separates us. And sometimes we tend to forget that. And then I do have an economic development consulting firm with Craig, as Laura mentioned. And then Craig Coyle, who's my business partner, you're going to hear from here in a second. Craig knows more about economic development than I think anybody in the state. I'm a little biased, but he was my go-to when I was on the governor's staff back in the 90s to know about economic development projects. But he's also been involved in marketing this, not just the state, but different entities and businesses, and is really vested in the state of Illinois. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Craig.
Thanks, Janet, and thank you everybody for paying attention and hopefully taking the message of Elevate Illinois forward after today. You know, economic development from my perspective is what drives the state, and we've always said to everybody that it is the only thing that we do in Illinois that involves every piece of Illinois. Everything from schools to roads to community well-being to crime to policing to, I mean, pick a topic. However successful we are in those subcategories dictates how successful we are economically. And that's always kind of driven what we do personally and professionally. And I am biased towards economic development, but I recognize that there's good stories across the state as well. And one thing I would like to say, I guess, is that Janet alluded to it earlier. When I was manager at the State Department of Commerce, and we had 40 people working for us across the state, both what was, you guys know it now as Team Red, they were area development reps back then. We had target industry specialists, project managers, those types of things all across the state with a global marketing presence that was pretty much second to none. And the reality of that situation was that we always ran into people who kept talking about the negatives about Illinois, and it drove me crazy. It's like, look in our backyard, look what we have to offer everybody. There's a reason people come to Illinois and talk bad about us and then go talk to our businesses. It's because they want them there in their state. Sorry, they're here, and our goal is to keep them, and our goal is to grow our communities, and our goal is to make our communities more prosperous. That's what we're here for at the end of the day. And even in the consulting business, when we were talking about economic development and projects, and our clients would say we want to look at other states, it just was really difficult to do that. And if we had to locate a project in another state, that was twice as difficult, especially given kind of my propensity to promote Illinois at all costs. So are there negatives? Yes, we're not Pollyannas, of course, but there's more positive than negative. And it's up to each and every one of us to start changing that message. So we just want to show you a few of the stories and kind of how we're categorizing some of these things across the bandwidth. And Janet, hopefully you're still there to run the PowerPoint because I can't do it. You move on to the next slide. We're breaking down economic development successes, and this is one of them. North American Lighting, who many of you know in southeastern Illinois, has presence in Paris, Illinois. Their corporate headquarters are there. They're down in Salem, and they've just opened a new facility in Mattoon that's going to employ hundreds of people. Mattoon is kind of a shining star in central Illinois, Mattoon, Charleston, in terms of the growth that they've had and the opportunities that have developed. And people know about it in that part of the state, but people don't know about it always outside the state and in other parts of the state. NAL provides headlights and lighting solutions and electric solutions to companies like Toyota and Honda and others that make their product in the United States. So that's a major victory for all of us and one that we should celebrate and promote whenever possible. We can move on to the next one. This is a story that we posted about Group O, which is a company founded by a guy by the name of Bob Anaveras up in the Quad Cities. He's a Hispanic gentleman who founded this company out of the trunk of his car. And it's now $1 billion company. And that happened in Illinois. And there's success stories like that throughout our state. And I'm sure if you all sit and look around your communities, wherever you may be, you know somebody who started a business or has had success or makes an impact in your community in a positive way. And those are the kind of folks that we want to talk about and promote. We move on to the next one. I actually was a part of this project early on when Circuit City built this distribution center down in, excuse me, in Marion. Circuit City, as we all know, went out of business. They were an electronics, nationwide electronics company. But ReaderLink just went into this facility in Marion, and they're going to be hiring, again, hundreds of people in the Southern Illinois region. Marion is a hub that I think people don't take as serious as they probably should from a national perspective and even from a regional economic development perspective, a regional multi-state economic development perspective. And this is another success that we can talk about. The other thing that we talk about is quality of life. And we all have things in our communities that are unique, right? And so we'd like to be able to promote those unique items. And this particular post related to the Fisher Theater in Danville, which has undergone a renovation and is kind of coming back to its glory days. And very few people know about it. But again, take a step back, look in your community and think about what kinds of things are out there that we need to start promoting and telling people about that drive people not only to Illinois, but drive people to your community, excuse me, and can help promote your community in a different way, perhaps. This is a new initiative which was funded by the SIU Credit Union. They donated $500,000 to build an event center, which is basically geared around environmental education. Sounds kind of weird, but when you go to Southern Illinois and you look at the landscape down there and a lot of the things that go on down there from a hiking perspective, from a tourism perspective, this all blends in, right? And so again, it's a quality of life issue. And why do I keep bringing that up? People talk about how bad Illinois is sometimes. No, it's not. Not when you have things like this going on, not when you have activities going on that are positive and starting to change the dynamic and change the impression of an area. It moves us toward the goal of changing the overall narrative of the state of Illinois. This is a new casino that's under construction in Southern Illinois, Walker's Bluff, down in Carterville. And casinos are a hot topic in some areas and not so hot in others, I guess. But this is a regional draw. It'll bring people in from other states because everybody knows people like to gamble, right? And spend their money. And we want them to spend their money in Illinois as opposed to someplace else. the long-term benefit of these kinds of things is a whole separate discussion. But the reality of it is that it's a critical investment. It's a large investment that will employ a lot of people and creates a destination for people to go to. And once they're there, then they can start taking advantage of the other things. So not only is it a cool place potentially, but it's also a tourism draw as well. And then there's just stories, right? And we like to promote these kinds of things, the did you know kind of things. And this is a story about a family that created a chocolate, I won't say it's a chocolate empire, it's not Hershey's, but it's a chocolate company, so to speak, and they have their own kind of way of doing things. And very few people knew about it. And then we start promoting it and more people know about it. And again, I want you to keep putting this in the framework of your own particular communities. What do you have in your community like this that you can share with us that we can share with everyone else? This gentleman is a really cool dude. He basically created a new way of doing prosthetics for humans. And I think that they were actually they were looking for investors early on. I wish we would have invested in that. We probably would be doing very well right now, but this was started in Illinois. And again, put this in perspective. When people start talking about, ooh, Illinois bad, let's talk about all the good things that have happened in Illinois. We wouldn't have cell phones if it wasn't for Illinois and Motorola. We wouldn't have the internet if it wasn't for the U of I and the original browsers. We wouldn't have a lot of things, right? New technology developments that run either through the university systems that we don't think about, the entrepreneurial spirit in the state of Illinois that happens on a daily basis that nobody talks about. These are all things that we need to do on an ongoing and regular basis and promote these things and talk about them and put it in the perspective again, and I'm going to be repetitive and I know that, but put it in perspective of your own community and of your own region and of your own little sphere of influence and see how we can start changing the dynamic. And what is this? I don't recall. Oh, this is one of the facts and figures. About 1 million people in Illinois employed in the food and fiber industry. And you don't think about that a lot of times either, correct? We go and we get our food and we eat it. I think with the pandemic and the shortages that we face, sometimes food is more front of center now than it may have been in the past. But 1 million people in the state of Illinois work hard every day in a variety of industries to make sure that there's food on the table of a lot of people across this country. And you trickle that on down to the agricultural community at a base level. You move it up through the processing facilities that are located, the distribution facilities that are located, and you can see the impact that Illinois has throughout not only the state, but throughout the Midwest and our entire country. The other thing we like to do is just talk about stories for those of you who live along the Illinois River up towards I-80, around the Princeton area in Hennepin. There used to be a steel facility up there. It's undergone a lot of things, but the bottom line is there's a cryptocurrency mining facility up there. Cryptocurrency is a thing now, right? From an investment perspective. Actually have a little bit. They didn't do it as well as some of it, but that's a whole nother story. The reality of it is it's real and it's going to be a thing in the future. And Hennepin is on the cutting edge of that from a process perspective. Now, not many people know that, not many people think about it. But again, when you put it in the total package of stories, it's a really unique thing and a cool idea. And this is the one that always intrigues me when people talk about all of the negativity about the state of Illinois. Must not be too negative with all the Fortune 500 companies that we have here, right? We have more than almost any state in the country. 38 Fortune 500 companies. Not many states can say that. And there's a reason they're here. And if you look at the companies that this involves, Some of them are highlighted here on your screen. You can read those for yourself. They're all companies that we all know about, we've all heard about. And some of them are long-term companies, some of them are short-term, new arrivals, I should say. But they're headquartered in Illinois, and they're headquartered in Illinois for a reason. And we need to take more advantage of that and tell that story as well. And then there's people who just do cool things on a daily basis. The FFA kids saw that this dog that could help, is a therapy dog, could help their friend who has epilepsy. And they created a whole thing about that. And these kind of stories are the ones that excite me. It's kids who are thinking out of the box and they're trying to do good things for their, this is in North Clay, as you can see, but they're trying to do good things for their community and good things for their friends and set examples for people. And at the end of the day, that's what it's about in Illinois. I think our core mission should be to set examples in a good way across a variety of spectrums. And at Elevate Illinois, we want to try to do that and do that in an efficient way with the help of folks like you. This is also a nice story, and this is just a little personal aside. This company makes bats, baseball bats, dinger bats. And a lot of the, sorry for the sirens in the background. A lot of the Major League Baseball players use these bats. The only downside I have for this is personal. It's made in Ridgeway, Illinois. Ridgeway beat my father's team in the quarterfinals of the state basketball tournament in 1972 or 73, I guess it was. So Ridgeway's a good town. I'm sure they have a lot of great people, but they beat my dad's basketball team. So I'll always remember that. That aside though, Dinger Bats is a cool story as well. So if you haven't gotten it by now, our message is pure and simple. We need your help. We need your help identifying stories. We need your help identifying things that are happening in your communities. And we need your help to just do simple things like submit the stories to us at elevateillinois.org. Use the hashtag ElevateIllinois. If you just have something that you post that's good in your community, just add the hashtag ElevateIllinois. And as Janet said, your county, so that we can start tracking that kind of thing and start cataloging the good things on a county by county basis that are happening. And do all that on LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook, as we talked about. The key thing also is if you could invite your friends to follow Elevate Illinois social media pages, because we need to expand the base, we need to expand the network. And if you're interested as well, we'd be happy to start putting your name or your organization's name on the website as a supporter of Elevate Illinois going forward. One more slide just to kind of wrap things up, and then Janet will come back on here, I'm sure, in just a second. But if you push to the next slide, Janet. So we got our contact information. This is a passion for us, and people say, why are you doing it? I could be doing other things, frankly, but it's really important to me that we're successful with Elevate Illinois going forward to set the foundation for not only what can be and what will be, but I want to set the foundation and help set the foundation for my kids and my grandkids. Some of the folks in our family are talking about moving away. Shockingly, they're moving back now, which I find exciting. And they're moving back because they see opportunity. And I want Illinois to be a place where they can grow and be successful. And I'm sure each and every one of you want to do the same thing, or at least I hope you do. And anything that you can do to help us send that message is what will help do that. So bottom line, promote Illinois, be positive, tell us your story, make this a better place for not only you, but your family going forward, and help us in any way you can. We'd really appreciate that. So thanks a lot. I appreciate your attention. Happy to answer any questions as well. Janet?
Yeah, thanks, Craig. And like you said, we welcome your questions. This is a passion for us. I mean, I'm a long-term resident, as you heard. My family's been here forever, since the 1860s. We want the state to be successful. We want our kids and grandkids to stay here. We want your kids and grandkids to stay here. We want more people to live here. And we know Illinois has so much to offer, and we just need your help to help us share all that. And I see that we've got some questions in the notes. Laura, I'm sure, is going to call some of this out, but I'm looking down here. First, I see Richard Breckenridge, and hi, Rich, good to see you. He's suggesting doing a story on Kilgus Dairy and Fairbury. Know it well. and I would, this is part of our dilemma here, is that Craig and I, we've got feelers all over the state. So not only do I live in Geneseo, I'm from Fairbury. I lived in Springfield for 10 years. Craig's close by to that, but we've got a family hunting club in Marion, Illinois. So all of those places are places that I'm very well connected. Craig's got his spots too. But we don't want to make it just all completely about Fairbury and Geneseo, for instance, because I could do that all day long, or the Quad Cities I'd throw in there too, because I'm so close to them. Could do that all day long, but people would get pretty bored. And we probably will do something about Kilgus at some point, Richard. I'm not saying we're not, but they get bored with just that. That's why we really need you guys to share stories that you think are important from your regions and your areas with us, or at least give us some ideas so we can start to do some research on it. Because we do want to have this encompass the whole state and not just be about what we know best, but that's a great idea. Yes, of course, we want to do more counties, Jake. And this goes back to what's either been suggested to us or that we cull from going through LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook posts and news stories every day that come up as stories to share. That's how we're gathering things now, or people giving us information. So of course we want to do every county in the state. That's the goal. So we need your help, everybody on this call and everybody that to help us make that happen. And yeah, Maria, Instagram, we do want to get on there. Here's what I will say about Instagram and why we have not yet. Again, we're just starting up. Craig and I are staffing this ourselves. And we're starting to get into fundraising mode, and the reason I'm saying this is Instagram is, as you all who are on it know, is an extremely visual social media platform. And so we need to make sure we've got our brand, I'm using air quotes here, brand correct, so that when people see our Instagram posts, they're going to know that they're Elevate Illinois right away. So we're working on what that can look like, so that we have that established from day one instead of trying to play catch up, because once you do that, as you all know, it doesn't work, because then your past posts don't quite work. So Instagram is definitely something we want to do. I've got a 24-year-old. He absolutely is not on Facebook or sometimes Twitter, not a whole lot, but Instagram. He does Snapchat. Of course, he won't snap with me. I don't know why. Why would a 24-year-old not snap with their mother? But those are the things and TikTok, so that's another one too. I think there's a desire to get there for us. And again, because we know we need to appeal to all age groups in this, but doing it right. And, TikTok, again, I've got an account, but I've never been on it as far as actually doing anything, because we want to make sure that still keeps the integrity of what we're trying to do too.
Some of these, Janet, I was looking at Mike's comment about the data. We're in the process of gathering the data. So, I think that a lot of it's anecdotal at this point as well. So I think it's a good idea if we can grab some of those folks and start having them tell the story and why they came back. That's a great idea. And thanks to Sarah for submitting. Also, I was looking at Sharon's note about Nauvoo. I have to tell my Nauvoo story. So Janet alluded to her family history. My family history was my dad was a coach and a teacher, and so we roamed West Central Illinois when I was growing up. So I lived in places like Beardstown and Rushville and Bushnell and Petersburg and Pittsfield and also Normal and Springfield and Decatur. But when I was in 4th grade, I got to go to Nauvoo on a field trip with my summer classmates, so to speak. And it was the first time I ever tasted blue cheese, and it was in the basement of some building in Nauvoo, Illinois, where they thought it would be really cool to give fourth graders pieces of blue cheese. I had no idea what I was eating other than it was moldy. But the other thing that I remember about that is the community itself really stuck in my mind as a really cool place because of its history. And you're absolutely right. We need to do that. We need to highlight your community a little bit more. And I like blue cheese now, so maybe we can talk about that too.
Well, I'm going to go back to Mike Delaney's question too about returnees. So we actually, as part of our fundraising strategy, are looking at doing something with that as well, because there are some people that have been, let's say, in Major League Baseball that suddenly have built multi-million-dollar homes in Southern Illinois as a retiree. So we want to do I Choose Illinois. Why did I choose to come back? You know, I can do another Southern Illinois story. There's a group of former residences called Pine Manor down there that actually are rented out as a family retreat or a retreat for businesses that I had. Again, we've got property in Marion, had no idea what's down there, but this is a father-son duo that made a lot of money in Chicago, and they came back and they gave back to the community. So there's stories like that too that we want to try and capture. But as far as returnees coming back, that's a great data point that we do need to dive into a little more.
Janet, could you talk? I'm guessing you just saw Jake's comment on blue cheese is better than ranch.
I did.
I agree.
Can you, there is a question about how you rate success and what you do. And then after that, I was hoping you would talk a little bit more about obviously hashtag Elevate Illinois, but other ways that people can get involved. I know folks are already going to your website, but I was hoping you could maybe talk a little bit more about that.
Sure. So iPhone Amy, thank you for the question. So right now our rating of success is how much are we engaging with entities and who they are and consistency in that. How many people are actually getting driven to our sites and engaging with us. We're new on this front, so I will say that. So that's how we're gauging it right now. I'm not saying that's going to be continuous, because Craig and I are already seeing some other opportunities for engagement that's not just social media. So there have been people already coming to us saying, hey, we see a need to do some things about workforce. I know there were some workforce people that were supposed to be on this Zoom call today. There's not enough workers in Illinois. It doesn't matter how you cut it. So how can we work together to figure out strategies and solutions to make that better? And we've got a platform here that we think we can bring people from different parts of the state together to do that. So that's, one thing. Responsiveness on signs going up from Kentucky and Southern Illinois and Central Illinois saying, come to our state instead because Illinois is really bad. And this is not in any way to degrade what's going on at Illinois Department of Commerce and Intersect, because I know they've got their hands full with a lot of stuff, but they weren't ready to have a response to that. So things like that are things we might be able to engage and help, again, amplify what everybody's doing. So Craig, do you want to go ahead and add to any of that?
No, that was fine. You're good.
But Laura, you had another question and now I'm forgetting what it was.
It looks like some folks are already going to your website submitting stories, but I just wondered if maybe you want to talk a little bit more about, yes, people can hashtag, they can submit stories, but anything else, what you're looking for in folks to get involved and support your efforts.
We really need people to expand the network is what we need more of, because we've got to get the numbers up to get attention, so to speak. So to the extent that you can, follow our pages, like our pages, all that, share that with your network. That's really important. Have your people in your network do the same thing. I'm sure at some point we'll be doing fundraising in a more organized fashion. We're not doing it at all right now in an organized fashion, but we've got to do that because as Janet said, we have a vision for what this will look like. And we need a lot of help to do that, whether it's help with video production, pictures, whatever the case may be, to help tell the story. And so ideas that you might have about that or opportunities that you have to help with things like that would be good to know as well.
Well, and let me make another, oh, go ahead, Craig. Sorry. I was going to make another point about social media, and one that I think Craig and I weren't as well aware of until we got into this and really started doing the posts and all that, and had people that do know more about it than we do talk to us. That is, it's important for people to like our posts, to make comments on our posts, and to share the posts, because that just helps to amplify the reach by doing that. So when you see stuff that we put up, hopefully you'll like it all anyway, but it does help the analytics for you to go ahead and,
yeah, it triggers their algorithms.
yeah, so that does help.
There's other questions, please include those in the chat box. Excuse me, I would like to ask Ann Silvas to go ahead and put the poll question up while we're talking so that we can catch folks before they jump off. Their lunch is coming to an end, but if there are any other questions, please include those in the chat box. We do have a little more time. It looks like Janet and Craig, there's somebody that says they really enjoy or like the idea of the I Choose Illinois. And they, back to Nauvoo, they were talking about a big influx of people moving to and back to Nauvoo during COVID. So that definitely could catch on.
That's a story we need to talk about then. So anything that we can do, if we can get in touch, anything we can do to help promote that and highlight that, we'd like to do that.
There's also oh, sorry, go ahead, Janet.
I was going to say, I just saw Lauren's question. Is that what you're going to bring up? Okay, so Lauren asked about, does Elevate Illinois work with urban communities? And you're talking about specifically Chicago South and West Sides. So although our focus is not Cook County, we're not excluding it. We know that there's a lot more infrastructure. I'm going to say infrastructure. I'm not talking about roads and stuff, but infrastructure in place in Cook and the Collar counties as far as doing some of this raising up of good things happening than there is in the rest of the state at this point. But it doesn't mean that we're going to exclude Chicago's South and West Sides if you've got stories to share. I mean, one of the things
my interest in it is that, you know, I think that there are a lot of things coming up that really could actually serve as a kind of a bridge between the communities like South and West Side of Chicago and some of the rural communities, you know,
Sure.
Particularly, I think when it comes to broadband access, you know, actually Illinois Connected, you know, which is, I guess, connected with the Illinois, with the extensions program, you know, it's doing a lot of work with this, and I'm finding really just a lot of interesting, not only interesting stories, but yeah, just a lot of similarities between what people in rural areas and what people in places like, you know, South Side of Chicago are concerned about. You know, broadband is one of the you know, easy ones, but you know, we can, you know, you can talk about healthcare, public health. There's just a lot of things that I think rural communities and places like South or West Side of Chicago could have in common. So I think a connection with us, with Elevate Illinois, would be actually more about, you know, what it is that you could say we could offer as much as, you know, what Elevate Illinois could do for us, you know.
That's great. Don't disagree at all.
No, I agree with that too. Lauren, that there is a lot of connectors that we just don't always think about. So yeah, let's talk more about that.
There was a question of asking for you to let them know how to connect again. So I put a link to your website as well as a link to the Elevate Illinois Facebook page.
Yeah, and on the website, there are there's the icons for Facebook, not Instagram, sorry, get me thinking about Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. So you can click on those and get to our actual pages on those platforms.
And just a reminder for participants to fill out the poll before it ends. This has been really great information, Janet and Craig, and there's obviously a lot of people interested and excited. I know I've been excited since the first time you all presented to us about this, and we're all thankful, I think, for the work you're doing. And I think it is important for us to elevate Illinois and not focus on the negative or things that aren't going the way we want them to go. So we really, really appreciate that. There's another question. If we were to focus on making sure we focus on sharing info on one site, do you see Facebook or LI as being more important?
So LinkedIn. So Anissa, I think they're both important, but in different ways. So Facebook is something that I guess I would call the everyman site to go to, that a lot of people use. I mean, Instagram is becoming that more and more too. LinkedIn, definitely on the professional side. We've been sharing some more quality of place things on there just because we think it's important to do that as well. But I do think that both are equally important, but in different ways. And Sharon, you're welcome. And thank you guys for participating today. And again, for hosting us. We appreciate having the platform and the voice here.
Yeah, we really do. And please don't hesitate to reach out to us and give us a call, email us, whatever, and we'll get right back to you because we want to hear from y'all. So thank you.
Janet, Craig, anything else before we wrap up that you want to mention?
No.
Great stuff. I think that's it.
Yeah, just thank you. And like I said, help us spread the word.
Thanks again. We really enjoyed the presentation. Folks it's fun whenever everyone's thinking and positive and has great suggestions and makes these more interactive and fun to get through. You also have some requests for speaking, so I'll let you respond to that in the chat. But again, thanks for being here. Thanks to Extension for partnering with Rural Partners to offer this webinar series. If you haven't taken the poll, it'll be coming down here in a moment, so please go ahead and complete that. Again, the PowerPoint presentation, as well as the recording from today and a fact sheet about Elevate Illinois will be emailed out to you in the next couple of days and available on the LGE website with Extension. We appreciate you all being here. Hope you have a great day and consider joining us for Thursday's webinar or a future webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.